I never thought the woman I loved for 5 years would look me in the eye and say, "If you are so insecure, just leave." But Jessica did. She said it with such coldness that it felt like a slap across my face. I stood there in our living room, the same room where we had danced on our wedding day, where we had celebrated promotions and anniversaries, and I realized I did not recognize the person standing in front of me anymore. She wanted me gone because I had the audacity to question why she was spending more time with Blake, her coworker, than with her own husband. Before I tell you how I turned the tables, let me know in the comments where you are watching from. Drop a like if you have ever felt disrespected in a relationship, and do not forget to subscribe, because what happened next proved that sometimes the best response to disrespect is a calculated silence. My name is Wyatt, and 3 years ago, I married the love of my life. Jessica and I met during our junior year at Portland State University. She was studying marketing, I was deep into accounting courses, and we bonded over terrible campus coffee and late-night study sessions. Our relationship felt effortless back then. We just clicked. After graduation, we moved into a small apartment in downtown Portland. It was not much, a one-bedroom on the 3rd floor with a view of the parking lot, but it was ours. We made it home with thrift store furniture and plants Jessica insisted on buying, even though she killed every single one within months. Our life together had a rhythm. I worked as an accountant for a mid-sized firm downtown, steady hours, decent pay, nothing glamorous, but stable. Jessica started at a small marketing agency, and I watched her fall in love with her work. She had this energy about her, this passion for creating campaigns and connecting with clients. I loved seeing her so alive. We had our routines. Saturday mornings meant farmers market runs. Sunday evenings we would cook together, usually attempting some ambitious recipe we found online and laughing when it turned into a disaster. We took road trips down the Oregon coast, hiked in the gorge, and talked about buying a house someday. Then 6 months ago, Jessica got promoted to marketing manager at one of the biggest agencies in Portland. I was so proud of her. She had worked incredibly hard for this, staying late, taking on extra projects, proving herself over and over. The night she got the news, we celebrated with champagne and takeout from her favorite Thai place. She was glowing, talking a mile a minute about her new team, the bigger clients, the creative freedom she would finally have. And she kept mentioning Blake. Blake, the creative director. Blake, who had this amazing portfolio. Blake, who was going to be her main collaborator on the big campaigns. I did not think anything of it at first. Of course, she was excited about working with talented people. That was the whole point of the promotion. But looking back now, that was when things started to shift. The first week in her new role, Jessica started coming home later. She would text me around 6:30 saying she had a meeting with Blake to align on strategy for a new client pitch. I understood. New job, bigger responsibilities. I told her to take her time, that I would handle dinner. The second week, the late nights became more frequent. Monday, she was home at 8. Wednesday, 9:30. Friday, almost 10. Each time the explanation was the same. Working with Blake, brainstorming with the creative team, client demands. But it was not just the hours. Jessica started changing in small ways that I tried to convince myself did not matter. She began putting more effort into her appearance for work. She had always dressed professionally, but now she was choosing outfits more carefully, spending extra time on makeup. Wearing that perfume I bought her for our anniversary last year. She used to save that perfume for special occasions. Suddenly, it was a Tuesday morning essential. She was on her phone constantly. During dinner, during our shows, even in bed before sleep. She would light up at notifications, smiling at her screen, typing quick responses. When I asked who she was texting, she would say it was just the team talking through ideas for the campaign. One evening, I glanced over while she was scrolling and saw the name Blake appear over and over in her notifications, message after message. I felt this uncomfortable twist in my stomach, but pushed it down. I trusted Jessica. We had been together for 5 years. She would never do anything to hurt our marriage, right? Then came the weekend that made me realize something was seriously wrong. It was a Saturday, and I had suggested we go to that new Italian restaurant that just opened in the Pearl District. Jessica loved Italian food, but she said she was too tired, that work had been exhausting, and she just wanted to stay in and rest. I was disappointed but understood, except an hour later while I was doing laundry, I saw her Instagram story. She had posted a picture from a restaurant downtown. Not just any restaurant, an upscale place I knew she had been wanting to try. And she was not alone. The photo showed Jessica sitting at a table with her team, all dressed up, wine glasses raised in a toast. But what made my chest tighten was how close she was sitting to Blake. He was right next to her, his arm resting on the back of her chair, both of them laughing at something off camera. She looked so happy, more happy than she had looked at home in weeks. I sent her a text. "I thought you were too tired to go out." She responded an hour later. "Just team bonding, do not be weird about it." That phrase, "do not be weird about it," echoed in my head for the rest of the night. Was I being weird? Was I overthinking? But the feeling in my gut would not go away. Jessica came home that night at 11. I was still awake, sitting on the couch pretending to watch television. She walked in, smelling like wine and expensive cologne that definitely was not hers. She kicked off her heels and barely looked at me. "How was your night?" I asked. "Good. We needed to celebrate closing the Anderson account," she said, heading straight for the bedroom. I wanted to ask more, to tell her how hurt I felt that she had lied about being tired, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I sat there in the dark living room, feeling like a stranger in my own home. The third week into her new position, Jessica was barely present in our marriage. She would wake up at 6:30, an hour earlier than she used to, and be out the door by 7. She started working through lunch, staying until 9 or 10 at night, and even picking up hours on the weekends. When I asked if everything was okay, if the workload was manageable, she assured me it was just the adjustment period. "Blake and I are still figuring out our workflow," she said. Blake. Always Blake. His name came up in every conversation about work. Blake thought this approach was brilliant. Blake suggested they pivot the strategy. Blake wanted to grab coffee to discuss the next phase. I tried to be understanding. I reminded myself that building a strong working relationship was important. But the more she talked about him, the less she seemed to talk about us. Our evenings together disappeared. Jessica would come home, grab leftovers from the fridge, and head straight to the bedroom to take calls. I could hear her through the door, laughing, engaged, animated, in a way she had not been with me in weeks. One Thursday night, I cooked her favorite meal, chicken marsala with roasted vegetables. I set the table, lit candles, put on the jazz playlist we used to listen to on date nights. When she walked in at 9:15, she looked at the setup and gave me a tired smile. "This is Sweet Wyatt, but I really need to eat fast. Blake and I have a video call at 9:30 to finalize the client presentation." She ate in 10 minutes, barely tasting the food I had spent 2 hours preparing, then disappeared upstairs. I sat at that table alone, staring at the candles burning down, feeling completely invisible. The weekend was worse. Saturday morning, I suggested we drive out to Cannon Beach like we used to. Jessica said she had to work. Blake and I need to revise the entire campaign deck. The client moved up the deadline. I offered to come with her, to just sit in a coffee shop nearby so we could at least grab lunch together. She looked annoyed. "Wyatt, I need to focus. I cannot be distracted right now." Distracted. That is what I had become to her. A distraction. So I stayed home, cleaned, the apartment, went for a run, tried to keep myself busy while my wife spent her Saturday with another man. That evening, I checked Instagram again. Another post. This time Jessica and Blake were at some trendy coffee shop in Northwest Portland, laptops open. But the photo looked more like two friends hanging out than colleagues working. The caption read, Creative magic happens over good coffee and even better company. The comments were full of heart emojis and people saying they were a great team. By the fourth week, I could not ignore it anymore. The emotional distance between us had become a canyon. Jessica was not just physically absent, she was emotionally checked out. We had not had a real conversation in days. We had not been intimate in over 2 weeks. She barely looked at me. And every time I tried to bring it up, she would deflect, saying I was being needy or that I did not understand the pressure she was under. But I did understand pressure. I understood hard work. What I did not understand was why her career suddenly required her to shut me out completely. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Friday, and I decided I was going to surprise her. I knew she said she was working late again, so I picked up dinner from the Thai place she loved and drove to her office building downtown. I parked and walked up to the 7th floor carrying the bag of food, hoping maybe we could eat together, even if it was just 30 minutes in her office. But when I got there, the floor was empty. Dark desks, turned off computers, silence, except for one office at the end of the hall, Blake's office. The lights were on and I could see 2 figures through the glass walls. I walked closer, my heart pounding. Through the window, I saw Jessica and Blake sitting on the leather couch in his office. They were not working. There were no laptops, no papers, no presentation decks. Just the 2 of them sitting so close, their knees were almost touching. Blake said something, and Jessica threw her head back, laughing that full-body laugh she used to give me. Then Blake reached over and brushed a strand of hair away from her face. She did not pull back. She did not move. She just smiled at him, her cheeks flushed, looking at him the way she used to look at me. I stood there frozen, the bag of food heavy in my hand, watching my wife be intimate with another man. Not physically, not yet, but emotionally. And somehow that felt even worse. I did not go in. I turned around and walked back to my car. I sat in the driver's seat for 20 minutes, staring at nothing, trying to process what I had just seen. Then I drove home. Jessica came back at 11:30 that night. She walked in, smiling, humming some song under her breath, and did not even notice that I had been waiting up for her. "How was work?" I asked, my voice flat. "Great. We are making amazing progress on the campaign," she said, kicking off her shoes. "Where are you with Blake?" I asked. She stopped, turned to look at me. "Yes, why?" Her tone was defensive already. "I came by the office tonight. I brought you dinner. I saw you 2. The air in the room shifted. Her expression went from surprise to annoyance. "So, what, we were working?" "That did not look like just work to me, Jessica." She crossed her arms. "Wyatt, do not start this. Blake is my colleague. We are close because we work together constantly. That is how professional relationships work." "Too close," I said. She let out an exasperated sigh. "Oh my God, are you seriously jealous right now?" "This is not about jealousy. This is about respect, about boundaries." "Boundaries," she repeated, her voice rising. "I have not done anything wrong. Blake and I are professionals. We have to have a good working relationship to produce quality work. If you cannot understand that, that is your problem, not mine." I felt anger rising in my chest. My problem. "Jessica, you have been choosing him over me for weeks. You cancel plans with me to be with him. You light up when you talk about him. You barely even look at me anymore." She stared at me, her jaw tight. "You are being ridiculous." Then she turned and walked into the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. I stood in the living room, my hands shaking, feeling like I was losing my mind. Was I overreacting? Was this all in my head, but I knew what I saw? I knew what I felt, and deep down, I knew our marriage was slipping away. The week after that confrontation was unbearable. Jessica did not apologize. She did not try to reassure me or make any effort to set boundaries with Blake. If anything, She doubled down. She stopped hiding her phone. She would text Blake right in front of me, laughing at his messages, responding immediately, while my texts often went unanswered for hours. One night, I watched her type out a long message to him, smiling the entire time, while I sat across from her, trying to tell her about my day. She did not hear a word I said. When I pointed it out, she rolled her eyes and said, "Sorry, this is important." More important than me. That was the message, loud and clear. She started comparing me to Blake subtly at first, then more openly. "Blake really gets the pressure I am under," she said one evening. "He understands what it takes to succeed in this industry." The implication was obvious. I did not get it. I did not understand her. I was not on her level. It stung every single time. I tried bringing up couples therapy, suggested we needed help navigating this rough patch. She laughed, actually laughed. "Therapy, Wyatt? We do not need therapy. You just need to stop being so insecure." That word again, insecure. She had weaponized it, using it to dismiss every legitimate concern I raised. If I questioned her late nights, I was insecure. If I mentioned Blake, I was insecure. If I asked for more time together, I was needy and insecure. It was gaslighting, and I was starting to see it clearly. Things reached a breaking point on a Tuesday night. I had made dinner again, nothing fancy, just pasta and salad. Jessica came home at 9, barely acknowledged the food, and said she had to take a call. With Blake, of course. She went upstairs, and I could hear her voice through the ceiling, animated and happy. That call lasted 2 hours. 2 full hours. When she finally came back down, I was done. I was exhausted from trying, from being patient, from pretending this was normal. "We need to talk," I said. She looked irritated. "About what? About us? About Blake? About what is happening to our marriage?" She sighed like I was the most inconvenient thing in her life. "Wyatt, I do not have the energy for this right now." "You never have energy for me anymore," I said, my voice breaking. "But you have plenty of energy for him." "Because he gets me," she snapped. "Blake understands my career, my goals, my ambitions. I have always supported your career, Jessica. I have never stood in your way." "Supporting is not the same as understanding," she shot back. "You do not get what it is like to work at this level, to be surrounded by people who are brilliant and driven. Blake challenges me. He pushes me to be better." "And what do I do?" I asked. She paused. That pause said everything. "You are safe, Wyatt. You are comfortable." Comfortable. The word hit like a punch. I was boring to her now. Predictable. Not exciting like Blake with his creative ideas and late-night work sessions. I took a breath, trying to stay calm. "This is not about work anymore, Jessica. You are emotionally involved with him. Whether you admit it or not, you are choosing him over me every single day." Her face hardened. "I am not emotionally involved. Blake is my colleague, my friend. And if you cannot handle me having a successful career and a good working relationship with someone talented, then that says more about you than it does about me. This is not about your success," I said, my voice rising. "This is about respect, about priorities, about the fact that you have not made me feel like I matter in weeks." "You know what your problem is, Wyatt," she said, stepping closer. "You are insecure. You cannot stand that I have something in my life that does not revolve around you. You cannot handle that I am thriving, that I have a connection with someone who actually values what I bring to the table." "A connection," I repeated. "Listen to yourself. You are talking about him like he is your partner, not me." "Maybe he is more of a partner than you are right now," she yelled. Silence. The words hung in the air between us, heavy and destructive. She realized what she had said, but she did not take it back. Instead, she doubled down. "If you are so insecure that you cannot trust me, If you are going to be this paranoid, jealous husband, then maybe you should just leave. I stared at her. The woman I married, the woman I had built a life with, had just told me to leave. You are serious, I said quietly. I am, she said, her voice cold. If you cannot handle me having a life outside of this marriage, if you are going to question every friendship I have, then maybe we are not right for each other anymore. Something inside me shifted in that moment. It was not anger anymore. It was clarity. I was not the problem here. I was not insecure for wanting my wife to prioritize our marriage. I was not jealous for noticing she had feelings for another man. I was being gaslit, manipulated, and disrespected. And I was done. Okay, I said calmly. She blinked, surprised. Okay, what? Okay, I will leave. Just like you said. Wait, what? Her confidence faltered. I did not mean literally leave right now. You told me to leave if I am insecure, I said, walking toward the bedroom. I am not insecure, Jessica. I am just not stupid. But you are right about one thing. Maybe we are not right for each other anymore. I grabbed my duffel bag from the closet and started packing. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, important documents. Jessica followed me, her voice rising in panic. Wyatt, do not be dramatic. I did not mean it like that. You meant every word, I said without looking at her. And now I am doing exactly what you asked. I zipped up the bag and slung it over my shoulder. She blocked the doorway. Where are you going? This is ridiculous. You are overreacting. No, Jessica, I said, looking her directly in the eye. I am being smart. For the first time in weeks, I am thinking clearly. You want space? You want freedom? You want time with Blake without an insecure husband in the way? You got it. You are being childish, she shouted. I am being decisive, I corrected. There is a difference. I walked past her out of the bedroom through the living room toward the front door. She stood in the hallway, stunned, watching me leave. Wyatt, wait, she called out, but I did not stop. I walked out of that apartment, got in my car, and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I saw her standing in the doorway, arms wrapped around herself, finally realizing I was serious. I drove to my best friend Marcus's place across town. Marcus and I had been friends since college, and he knew everything that had been happening. When I showed up at his door with a duffel bag, he did not ask questions. He just stepped aside and said, "Stay as long as you need, man." That night, lying on Marcus's couch, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Pain, yes, but also relief. For the first time in weeks, I was not walking on eggshells. I was not wondering what Jessica was doing or who she was with. I was not being made to feel crazy for noticing the obvious. I had taken control back, and that felt powerful. The next morning, my phone started buzzing. Text after text from Jessica. Can we talk? This is silly, come home. I did not think you would actually leave. I read them, but did not respond. Let her sit with this. Let her feel what it is like to be ignored, to wonder where I am and what I am thinking. By afternoon, the texts turned more desperate. Wyatt, please. We need to talk about this like adults. Still, I did not reply. Day 2, she started calling. I let every call go to voicemail. She left messages that ranged from angry to pleading. You are being immature. This is not how you handle marriage problems. Fine if you want to be childish. Go ahead. Wyatt. I am sorry, okay? Can you please just come home so we can talk? I listened to each voicemail once, then deleted it. I was not being childish. I was setting a boundary. She told me to leave, and I left. Now she had to live with that choice. While Jessica was spiraling, I was taking action. I contacted a lawyer not because I wanted to divorce immediately, but because I needed to understand my options. I needed to be prepared for the worst-case scenario. the lawyer walked me through everything community property laws in Oregon, how assets would be divided, what the process looked like. It was sobering, but necessary. I also started documenting everything. I took screenshots of Jessica's social media posts with Blake, the timestamps of her late nights, the text messages where she dismissed my concerns. I was not trying to build a case against her, but I was protecting myself. I separated our finances. We had a joint account for household expenses, but I opened my own account and transferred my paycheck there. I changed passwords on my personal accounts. I was not hiding anything, just creating clear boundaries. Marcus was supportive through all of it. "You did the right thing," he said one evening while we were having dinner. "She crossed a line and you called her on it. That takes guts." "I do not feel gutsy," I admitted. "I feel like my marriage is falling apart." "Maybe," Marcus said, "but at least you are not letting her walk all over you. You deserve respect, Wyatt. Do not forget that." By the end of the first week, Jessica's messages took on a different tone. "Okay, I was wrong. I should not have said those things. Can we please talk?" I finally responded, but kept it brief. "I am not ready yet." Her reply came immediately. "When will you be ready?" "I do not know." And that was the truth. I did not know if I would ever be ready to go back to a relationship where I felt this small. The second week brought an unexpected twist. Marcus got a text from Lauren, one of Jessica's friends from her old job. Lauren had always been friendly to me, and apparently she felt I deserved to know something. "I thought you should know." Her message to Marcus read, "Blake has a girlfriend. Jessica just found out." Marcus showed me the text, and I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, just a hollow acknowledgement that I had been right. "What are you going to do?" Marcus asked. "Nothing," I said. "Let her figure it out." Apparently, Jessica had discovered Blake was in a committed relationship when his girlfriend showed up at the office. Blake had never hidden it. He just never explicitly mentioned it to Jessica either. When Jessica had tried to have a deeper conversation with him, suggesting maybe their connection meant something more, Blake had shut it down fast. "I have a girlfriend, Jessica. I thought we were just work friends. You are great, but I am not interested in anything beyond collaboration." Jessica's entire fantasy collapsed in that moment. She had risked her marriage for a man who was never actually available, who had been enjoying her attention, but had no intention of leaving his relationship. When Lauren told me this, she added, "Jessica is a mess. She realizes what she has done." But I did not rush back. I did not call to comfort her. She had made her choices, and now she was living with the consequences. 3 days later, Jessica showed up at Marcus's apartment. It was a Saturday afternoon. Marcus answered the door, saw her standing there with red eyes and mascara streaks, and looked back at me. I nodded, and he let her in. Jessica stood in the living room, looking smaller than I had ever seen her. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "That depends," I said. "On what?" "On whether you are here because you miss me, or because Blake rejected you." She flinched. "That is not fair." "Fair," I repeated. "You want to talk about fair, Jessica." She started crying. "I was stupid, Wyatt. I was so stupid. I got caught up in the attention, in feeling important and valued at work. Blake made me feel like I was special, like I was brilliant, and I let that go to my head. I let it become more than it should have been." "You did not let it become anything," I said. "You chose it. Every late night, every text, every time you picked him over me, that was a choice." "I know," she sobbed. "I know, and I hate myself for it. Blake doesn't care about me. He never did. It was all fake. But you us our marriage that was real, and I almost destroyed it." "You did destroy it," I said quietly. "We can rebuild it," she pleaded. "We can go to therapy. We can work through this." I will do anything, Wyatt. I will quit my job. I will never talk to Blake again, anything you need. I looked at her. This woman I had loved so completely and felt a strange distance. You told me to leave Jessica. You said if I was insecure, I should just go. You chose him over me. You disrespected our marriage, our vows, everything we built together. And now that he has rejected you, now you come back. She did not have an answer for that. She just stood there crying. I need time, I finally said. Real time, not a few days. I need to figure out if I can ever trust you again, if this marriage is worth saving. And you need to figure out what you really want. Not what you want because you are hurt or embarrassed, but what you genuinely want for your life. I want you, she whispered. I want us. Then prove it. I said, show me through actions, not words, because right now I do not believe you. Jessica left that day without any promises from me. And honestly, I did not know what would happen next. 2 months have passed since that conversation. Jessica and I are in marriage counseling now, not because I forgave her immediately, but because I decided our relationship deserved one real attempt at healing done the right way. Jessica quit her job. She did not do it because I demanded it, but because she realized that environment had become toxic for both of us. She cut off all contact with Blake, blocked him on everything, and found a new position at a smaller agency where she could start fresh. I am still staying at Marcus's place. I have not moved back into the apartment yet. That might seem harsh to some people, but I need space to process everything without falling back into old patterns. Jessica is doing the work to rebuild trust. She is attending individual therapy, being transparent about her schedule, and making genuine efforts to prioritize our relationship. Some days are better than others. There are moments when I look at her and feel that old spark, that connection we used to have. And there are days when I look at her and still feel the sting of betrayal, still see her laughing with Blake, still hear her telling me to leave. Our therapist says healing is not linear, and I am learning that is true. Trust is not rebuilt overnight. It is rebuilt through consistency, through hundreds of small actions that prove someone has changed. Jessica is trying, I will give her that. But I do not know yet if trying will be enough. What I do know is this: I learned to respect myself enough to walk away when I was being disrespected. I learned that sometimes the loudest response you can give is silence. I learned that you do not have to fight for people who are not fighting for you. And I learned that dignity matters more than winning an argument or proving a point. The night Jessica told me to leave, she thought she was calling my bluff. She thought I would back down, apologize, beg for her forgiveness. Instead, I did exactly what she dared me to do, and that move, that choice to value myself, changed everything. I do not know if our marriage will survive this. Honestly, I am not sure I even want it to sometimes. But what I do know is that I will never again let anyone dare me to leave. Because if someone has to dare you to walk away, they have already shown you that they do not value you staying. And next time, if there ever is, next time, I will not just leave. I will make sure I never have to come back to that kind of disrespect again. Some people might think I should have fought harder, should have tried to compete with Blake, should have done more to keep Jessica's attention. But here is what I realized. A marriage should not be a competition. Love should not require you to constantly prove your worth. And respect should be a given, not something you have to beg for. Jessica is learning that now, the hard way. And whether we make it through this or not, I know I made the right choice that night. I chose myself, and that is something I will never regret. So let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where someone dared you to walk away? What did you do? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it is okay to choose your own dignity over someone else's disrespect. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope wherever you are in your own journey, you remember that you deserve respect, You deserve honesty, and you deserve someone who chooses you every single day without hesitation. Take care of yourselves, and remember sometimes walking away is the bravest thing you can do.